I just realized this is somewhat of a special show considering our first show ever was on an NBA, probably like a 13 game slate kind of night. It is wild that we've had that last season pre-COVID, then had the league get canceled, the bubble get spun up and finished, and a new season start, all in the lifespan of Lolz.
That's true. Well, we had 139 episodes after all.
Yeah, it is true. I mean, we put in the work, and I still think every once in a while you get what was the tweet last week where someone was surprised that we weren't doing exclusively League of Legends content.
Yeah, I can't remember who it was. You sent that to me. So Lolz isn't about League of Legends. Okay.
Yes, we had a very misleading a name, and as names go, you just stick with it, and then it becomes synonymous with the show. I think we took the power away from League of Legends and made it our own at this point.
Okay. Yeah, I did ask you at one point, like, do you think we should change it? You're like, nah.
Well, I mean, I think technically our SEO is fine because it's like Lolz : a DFS show, so yeah. It's fine. We got Jake Hari in the chat. Oh, what's up?
Did you see Rudy Gobert sign a mega deal too? So just
really, what did he?
He got rewarded.
Jeez, we shouldn't reward menaces to society like that. I mean, if it weren't for Rudy Gobert, coronavirus never would have happened.
He brought it from France here.
Who do we got? We got Jake Hari. What are we drinking tonight? You know what? We had the RG like Christmas party the other night, and they gave us a Drizzly gift card. So I got all of these local Maine beers that I like. So I have some of that going. You got a Claw?
Yeah, I got a Claw. I didn't know it was Blackout Wednesday until 20 minutes ago when you DM'd me.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh.
Jeffrey says this, and this is actually something I thought about. He said, "Hey Pete, make a Showdown NBA lineup, test his Showdown thought leader skills." This might be the only way I get access to NBA DFS, because I don't think I'm getting in them full game slate, dealing with inactives, rotations, but I'll play some NBA Showdown. It just seems too daunting. Apparently the slate was flipped on its head. Has it been a stressful day for you?
Yeah, it's been a while, but yeah, it's a pain in the ass. And I'm trying new stuff too. It's kind of annoying. But I was thinking the exact same thing though of for you to get your feet wet or whatever, Showdowns makes way more sense.
Yeah.
And a lot of times there's like 2 game slates anyways. So it's like, whatever, just play the night one. And all you have to worry about is right there, 5 minutes before a lock, and you're done.
Yeah, and I already have a process for Showdown,
right?
And I assume with NBA Showdown, like there's no correlation or other like quirks that I would need to really think about, right?
Yeah, there's some, like you don't want like direct backup guys in the same lineup, but in Showdowns, even there you might.
It's like football where you like could have 2 running backs.
Yeah, and I think, in my opinion, anyways, I think you don't want to be super aggressive with the dupes because there's just not as many good lineups as there's in football. And like a guy who's projected for like, 1.2 points in football can easily get 10, right? Like he just gets a lucky 30-yard catch or something.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen in basketball. You're not. It can kind of happen if there's a huge blowout and the guy gets like an extra 9 minutes to run. And even then, like you can't even tell who's going to get that run a lot of the times, because if it's like a super blowout, then maybe the garbage guy will get it. If it's a medium blowout, they might stick with some of the younger guys. It's tough to even judge.
I got to tell you real quick so I played the Showdown slate on Monday, right? That gross Bengals game against the Steelers. And so I had made 1,500 lineups, and I'm now trying to do more with, I had told you, product ownership instead of cumulative. So I pulled it into my spreadsheet and I scrolled down, I made 1,500. And my last lineup, I looked at it and it had to have been the worst lineup I've ever seen in my life, Brian. Uh-huh. It had Austin Siebert, the Bengals kicker at captain, and then all 3 Bengals running backs in it. Travion Williams, Samaje Perine, and Gio Bernard. So like a Bengals onslaught with the kicker and all 3 running backs. And yet the game script, like it could have almost gotten there with how well the Bengals.
P. Ryan didn't do anything.
No, but that's the worst lineup I've ever seen in my life.
It's awful. Yeah, it's awful. You know, one of those ones, I was in first for a little bit, like at halftime or something.
Yeah.
I had 10 dupes. And it's like 48,000 the first, and a milli maker, and it's like, god damn, like 10 dupes is pretty good, and you're like, oh, this is good. I'm in first. Let's see how I'm doing. It's like, not that I would complain about getting 48 grand, but I'm saying like you'd expect, like, some sort of. It's like it just shows you the bigger the prize, like the bigger you shows you like how duping hurts you so bad in those, because like 10 even goes like ugh.
I'm worried I swung too far back in the other direction when I tell you that lineup. And in the play action, Brian, I used that tool. We have our guy. I'll give a plug to it because I like using it. It's sports-projections.com. And he has a showdown contest analyzer where you can just upload the CSV. I had the most unique lineups of anyone in the $3.20 max with 150,000 entries. I was the king of non-dupe. But maybe too far, Brian. Maybe I went too far.
Maybe. I mean, you can make just lineups that just have no chance.
I think I did.
So yeah, it's possible. But like, I've said this a million times. You have to like get that whatever that strategy is, and then just dial it in. But don't go crazy changing it too much. So maybe pull it back a little bit, but. I mean, what did you have? Do you know? Did you have all singles?
All for uniques? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had one that was duped like 8 times, and then every single other one was unique.
And this is 20 max?
Yeah, the big $3 one. And normally, like when I was using the like cumulative ownership, I would normally be in the like 5 to 15 range for dupes in that big one. And now that I'm like really trying to dial it in, I might have swung too far because I had basically no dupes.
Maybe I wouldn't go too crazy though. I like singles, especially if you can look at those 20 and look at them and be like, yeah, that's reasonable.
Yeah. Well, I'd been looking at Osimo's lineups recently, and he is like, and he even had a tweet joking about it, but he's like super heavy on the kickers and defenses to get unique. Like he has like double kicker, double defense lineups.
Yeah. Not so much in the captain for the kickers.
No.
Yeah. But the defenses, he certainly will shove in there a captain.
Yeah. Yeah. I've noticed that basically in the like super high scoring games or the higher total games, I'll normally get unique with like a super random player, like the fullback or whoever. And then in like the lower scoring games, I'm more getting like unique with the captain, like with the kicker, defense captain and stuff like that. Which I guess intuitively makes sense, but I don't know.
It's tough with the kicker and captain.
Yeah.
It's tough. I've been getting a couple percent here and there, and I'm always like, ugh, well, all right. Like,
that's like, how do you like when I'm scanning through like my CSV or whatever, and you're just doing like a quick glance and you're like, oh, this one is going to be low owned because of this random player. And like, because it's showdown and I feel like you can justify anything. I often have a hard time other than that last lineup when I'm like 3 Bengals running backs and a Bengal kicker captain probably isn't a good lineup. Like I have a hard time being like, that's a bad lineup for showdown in a 150,000 person contest.
I know. Yeah. It's you're trying to accomplish something that the field really isn't up to yet. I don't think anyway. So like, I don't know. I would stick with it or dial it back a little bit, but like, you don't want like, 10 average dupes in that.
No.
Like 5, like, so just a little bit where like your highest is like 20 then everything else. And then once you get to that sweet spot, then you can know like, well, some slates you'll be a little higher, some slates you'll be a little lower because you can never really guess perfectly anyways.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, getting all ones might be a little too much, but I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I don't hate it.
Yeah. Jake asks, do you ever play anyone that has less than 0 projection, I don't think my process would get on that.
Yeah, don't project it. A guy will come out and immediately fumble. I know what he means. Like,
yeah.
just this guy who's not playing, just.
Well, and the tough thing is, like, I mean, it's hard. Like, again, I don't do projections, but for some of those like wide receiver 5s or fullback, like, it's hard to project those because I feel like a lot of these teams have like these wide receiver 5 and wide receiver 6s, like the guys that are active, and it just, you don't know who's going to be on the field on one random package and get a catch. I don't know. It is tough, I feel like, to project those fringe guys.
Sure. But I mean, I have put like guys in like my optimizer that have 0 by accident and then run it in a simulation, and the 0 guys sometimes get there. Like, and they'll say this line should be in there because you stick in 5 studs. I never do it, but it's possible.
Oh, I read Jay Kari, Blackout Wednesday is he meant greater than 0. Yes, all of the guys in my lineups have a greater than 0 projection. But he's do you play everyone that? Yeah, I do. You know.
Oh, I see what he's saying.
Yes. Yeah.
So Fantasy Cruncher, I type in 0.1.
Right, because it defaults to what most. Yeah, and I feel like a lot of the optimizers have some of that stuff in place too, where it'll be like, oh, don't play a defense against other players. Like, you have to unselect stuff like that.
Yeah, you have to put all that stuff back in there. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Dave P, Merry Christmas, guys. Brian, are you doing anything for the holidays? Any family stuff?
Yeah, pretty standard, but just smaller and shorter. We're gonna try to pull it off here.
Yeah.
And tomorrow I'm gonna go to my parents' house for a little afternoon Christmas Eve.
Nice.
How about you guys?
Yeah, just going over to my in-laws.
Yeah.
We'll go over there for Christmas Eve and Christmas. But yeah, I'm excited I've been like extremely online, even more so the past few days, I feel like. So I'm excited to have a few days of just getting away from the computer.
Yeah. Well, tomorrow there's like absolutely nothing, right?
I don't even know. I assume
no basketball.
There's no
golf.
No Thursday night football. There's just
this week.
No, I'm excited for a little bit. I think I'm even gonna sit out the showdown slate on Christmas because I'll be over at the in-laws early, and I'm not gonna try to make lineups an hour and a half while we're eating dinner. I'm not that much of a degen. I finally I can take one showdown slate off.
Yeah.
I'm saying it to myself now to like pump myself up. I'm acting like I can. I'm like, no, Peter, you can take one showdown slate off.
Wouldn't you have to have your computer with you and stuff?
Yeah. No, I wouldn't. Because I learned my lesson. You can't make showdown lineups before inactives come out. I mean, it's a fool's errand.
No, you got to be there for that last 45 minutes for sure.
The thing is like, I think with my in-laws at this point, like I could get away with it. Like, oh, Pete's going to do his fantasy thing. But like, I don't want to get away with it on Christmas. And I want to gear up for the 3-gamer. That's going to be a fun one on Saturday.
In my experience, it doesn't work as well as a real job excuse. Like I got to go down to the factory, like right? But like, I got to play poker or whatever. It doesn't nearly work as well with.
What if I call my laptop the factory and I say I got to go down to the factory? Maybe that could work.
Yeah, I mean, if your in-laws are complete idiots, sure, that might work.
Eric makes a good point. Can't use your phone. Who needs a pewter? I mean, maybe I should just get some of that hardworking hand builder ethos and just fire off 150 showdown lineups from my phone like a real man.
Is that like the ultimate hand building hierarchy? Like hand building from a phone?
Do you think anyone has ever 150 maxed via a phone?
Yes, definitely. Definitely.
No, optimizer are literally manually creating 150 lineups on a phone.
I think I've done it once.
What?
Not using an optimizer on the phone.
Okay, but you have done. What was that experience like?
Oh, it wasn't good. That was a long time ago. But yeah, because you can do it on your phone and then download and upload on your phone. It works.
Wow. That's like, what was the circumstances that led you to doing that on your phone?
Some late scratch and my laptop wasn't working or something. I can't remember. The internet goes out, so you have to like go to your phone. Because like that, that phone Wi-Fi doesn't work. I don't know. It's been a wild ride. We didn't have all these tools 5-6 years ago either.
Yeah.
And I had a job. So like I'd be coming home from the train, like just entering lineups on the train ride on the L.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what did you get a lot of action down for NBA tonight?
Yeah, I did. I maxed everything on Yahoo and Super Draft and FanDuel had two big ones, and I maxed the $3 and I did half on a little over half of the $100.
Mm-hmm.
And I did 3 in the 888 on DraftKings, and they're 150 and they're 220s.
Nice.
Yeah, no DraftKings too.
Feeling good about it?
No. My sim kept giving me this fucking John. I don't even know the guy's name. John Kuncher or something. People are probably gonna be.
See, I'm not even here to make fun of you because I don't know the name too. It's not a JD McKinney.
Konchar. And
someone in the chat will drop a phonetic spelling in, I'm sure.
And he was popping up in like 7% of my lineups or something. I'm like, that seems too high. But the problem was he was in my 888 lineup. I'm like, I don't want this piece of garbage I never heard of in my 80. I'll like risk a little bit in the. So I had to like just finagle that around, and but other than that, and I'm completely new process. So yeah. We'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, right now it's not looking good, but golf is kind of golf. NBA is a little different though, sweating, because it doesn't, like, if you're in dead last right now, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Because you got all night. You could easily have like the majority of your core players going in the last few games.
So how do you, like, one thing that seems just overwhelmingly daunting to me with NBA, aside from all the inactives and at lock, like how do you do late swap for like your MME stuff? I mean, is that just a nightmare?
Yeah, it's got the late swap optimizer now on Fantasy Cruncher. Yeah. And Rotogrinders has one too.
Yeah.
And so it's not nearly as bad as it used to be.
Okay.
Especially for FanDuel, because FanDuel you can't like even search for your players.
But like, I assume I get if it's like a super cut and dry thing of like getting a guy out or whatever. I'm just, from now doing more late swap in NFL this year, I feel like so many of my late swap decisions are very like fringe cases. And I'm waiting until the last minute to see how many points my early guys got and trying to weigh those pros and cons. Like, I just don't know how I would juggle that for a ton of lineups and a ton of moving situations.
Yeah. For a 150, I don't think you need to do the whole, this lineup's bad, so I'm going to take chances here. This lineup's good, so I'm going to stick, I don't think you need to do that in the NBA because not a ton of people late swap.
Yeah.
And so and there's so many news updates, which maybe we should check and see if there's anything going right now. There's so many news updates that if you just, redo your projections and upload and late swap, I think you're good. Okay. You're doing better than 99% of people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So but if you have like a cash game or something, right, with like, let's say you entered 500 different cash games, same exact lineup.
You want to check your opponent.
Then I would, then for that one, you could be like, LeBron, stunk it up. All right, let's pivot off of this guy. See if I can get him in cash.
Are you playing NBA cash too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not on DraftKings, but I am. Anthony Simmons ruled out. That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter, does it?
Are you because I know you said you're doing your new process and stuff, so that adds like a level of stress, but like, does it feel like work to you? Or are you excited to have NBA back? Is this fun for you?
It's pretty cool. I didn't do anything new totally with my projections and stuff. Just like how I enter my lineups was what new. And it's kind of annoying. That part of the season is kind of annoying because you got to make sure, okay. And I would use Basketball Monster. They closed down their DFS product. And I would use them for their rosters because they had like all 15-man rosters updated instantly as soon as there's injury news. And so like I wouldn't use their projections, but they quickly updated everything before anyone else. They're like definitely the fastest. And so I just refreshed that. Bam. Okay, here's who's playing. Here's who's out. And so that helped.
I think we talked about this before, but like Basketball Monster was what I used back in the day when I was just playing season long, and that site was so damn good. And it was Matt Buser and Justin Fan now, who's over at Action Network, I think was over there working on the projections, and that site was awesome, way ahead of its time as far as like I was using that in 2008 to like beat my college buddies in NBA fantasy basketball season long, and I don't think there were probably many tools whatsoever like that in the space back then.
I'm surprised that they're closing up shop. I wonder if that's a bad sign.
I don't know. I actually don't know the story behind it, and I'm not as well versed in the NBA tools out there, or if they were, why they didn't feel like they had a place in the market. But man, that was like a revelation to me, to their live draft analyzer and telling you which categories to focus on, based on what you drafted. With the second you draft Kevin Love, okay, well, all of a sudden you're punting blocks and you're focusing on 3-pointers and rebounds and, free throw percent. Like I love that aspect of season long basketball, and Basketball Monster just would crush it for you in real time.
I never used that part of it, just the DFS one. But I hated NBA full season. It's worse than football for sure, and worse than baseball, which is also pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't played season-long basketball since college. Maybe 1 year out I played, but yeah, I mean, when you're in college though and you have nothing going on and it's your only fantasy game, it was fun to grind the daily. But now I literally cannot even imagine grinding daily waivers.
Yeah, I would like to hear myself back in the day grinding. Why didn't I win? Well,
I felt like I had stumbled across a cheat code because you're playing with buddies and everyone's just drafting, quote unquote, the best players. And you're just realizing like all I'm doing is optimizing for 5 categories. And it's just like the picks seem weird. It's just like you're every week 5-4, 5-4, 5-4. It's like I built a juggernaut in 5 categories and I'm going to coast to the championship because no one else thought of that.
But you got to start your guys.
Yeah.
You still got to sit there and start your guys every day. It's
of course. It's a grinder's dream.
Amount of energy, news in the NBA. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Awful for $20, like a $20 entry fee or whatever.
I know. That's why I get a panic attack just like listening to you NBA guys talk about it. I mean, I'd been doing the bit, the slate getting flipped on its head. And someone was like, if you're going to do this for NBA, get ready to schedule this tweet like 4 times a day for the next, 4 months. It's like, I know it sounds extremely stressful.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it's good and bad though, because then when the injury news happens, a certain percentage won't even know, change anything. And so, because the edges in NBA are a lot smaller too. So you have to do it. Well, I heard if you're not going to late swap, don't play.
I heard no one loses in NBA DFS though.
Yeah, I get that. Isn't that bit though like 2 years old now? Like,
I don't even get like what is the origin of the bit?
I think it was because it was easier to win, and then just everyone said it, and so like how can everyone be a winner? It's impossible type of thing.
Is it because NBA projections are closest to reality of like any sport, right? Like the projections are the best for NBA, would you say?
I mean, yeah, I don't know if the best is the right word, but yeah, they're the least variant.
Yeah, okay, least variant. And so is the idea of just like if anyone has access to good projections, like it's hard for them to fall flat on their face. I guess I could see that maybe for cash games, but I don't know how. I feel like that bit doesn't apply to GPPs, right?
I guess I think they were talking about like everything, but I thought the bit was everyone claims to be winner. That's not possible. There's too many people saying they win at NBA DFS because it's actually really hard to win at NBA DFS and most people lose. I thought that was what it was. Maybe somebody in chat knows.
Yeah, the chat is blown up about this. Matt, I had to update my $20 home league NBA lineup today, and it took a lot out of me, to be honest. Nick says this bit has been flipped on its head so many times that it's actually a relevant bit again. Clay says you can play every day, so you're not waiting 1 week to the next. HM wants to know, does FanDuel still have no late swap for NBA? I'd probably play FanDuel if they didn't have late swap.
They have late swap, yes, and I feel the same way as you. I would rather they get rid of it. It's better for casuals too, but they're the ones who fought FanDuel on it and DraftKings on it. So it's like, okay. And yeah, but if they both lock, that'd be much, much better.
I would become like a single entry 3 max player, I think, for NBA DFS if there wasn't late swap. Because I could manage that. Yeah.
No, I don't know why FanDuel went back because of COVID, but I think DraftKings went back because of fan pressure. And RG had a big thread on it, whenever a couple years ago, and just everyone in there is like, bring back late swap, bring back late swap. It's like when there's a high scoring NFL week and everyone's like, I had 200 points and didn't cash. This is bullshit. It's like, dude, that's not why you didn't cash. And just because you can't late swap doesn't mean like you're the only one affected by it and you lost. Like, I understand their frustration of not being able to switch out a guy, but
what ended up being kind of like the response to the dropping the late score idea? That seemed like a good compromise, or the lowest score. Sorry.
Yeah, I didn't personally like that, but I don't know why they got rid of that too. But yeah, I don't know why. I think enough people just didn't like it. You know what I like what I want to do for PGA is I think PGA is the perfect sport to do it. So it's you have a 6-man team, just make an alternate. Just give yourself an alternate who's equal to or less than your lowest price golfer in that lineup. And if somebody drops out, you get that other dude.
That's cool. Yeah. It's clean too.
Yeah, it's clean. It's like, who cares? Like, so you get a $6,500 golfer in there. It's like, whatever. But like, maybe you can cash now. Because Jason Day feels like going into the fucking Disney World. I don't think you can. Because in the NBA, how are you going to do that? Like, I don't think you can really do it. You could do it for like flex, and then you're injured guy. But then if your guy gets scratched and he's not in flex, how do you switch that out? You can't have 8 backups. It's probably too hard for that. I mean, it does suck. It does like make the product less fun for the casual player. Yeah, probably. Which is at the end of the day, it's like, what are you going to do? You just got to let them switch out from their crappy lineup to another crappy lineup. Yeah, but it is ironic that the casual player doesn't know what's best for them in this situation. Right. Yeah. I just realized. Oh, go ahead. They could do like little strategy things, like just make 2 lineups. One with what you think's best, and one with like, okay, this guy might get scratched. I'm just going to gamble and say he's questionable. He's not going to play this other guy. And then there's nothing else the pros can do because the lineups are locked. And they're not. I'm not going to give away 40% of my exposure to some guy who's questionable. Right. Like I might throw a couple extra in there. Yeah. But so yeah, there's things they could do that can help them improve. They don't have to be around the computer all the time. Yeah. For like 1 lineup and 3 lineups, it's but whatever. It is what it is. Yeah. I just realized. Coincidentally, I have all these like random glasses so that when I'm having a beer, and this one is an NBA themed one. It's the Birdman. You remember him when he was on the Nuggets? Of course. Yeah. So he was a big fan favorite in Denver when I was in high school. And Arby's did like this promo where they giving away Birdman glasses. And we're like, dude, we got to go to Arby's and get these Birdman glasses. It has his career stats right there. Wow.
he ended up getting into quite a bit of trouble.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, didn't he end up getting arrested or something?
Yeah, he had a lot of infractions. One of them that I believe was like pretty bad, like child porn bad. I don't mean to slander him if that's not the case, but I want to say that was something. Please don't sue me, Birdman, if I just slandered your good name.
Don't do me, don't sue me.
That's the new shirt. Don't do me, don't sue me. Oh my god. All right, Dave P. Arby's curly fries are amazing. You know what? I don't mind the curly fries. I also used to love their Jamocha shake, that like coffee shake. I'm not a huge like roast beef sandwich guy, but I'm with you. I like the curly fries. And now I need to like look up Birdman's. Now they're saying he was blackmailed. Okay, maybe I only got the first part of the story. Maybe Birdman, I don't have to feel guilty from drinking from a Birdman glass.
Oh, Trump should pardon him either way, just in case.
Oh yeah, he's going on a pardoning spree right now.
I think I might have had that fucking Contra guy in one of my lineups. No, I'm okay.
Okay, thank you, Nick, for pointing this out. Chris Anderson clears criminal charges after falling victim to a catfish scheme. And my prevailing sentiment in my head was that this was this bad dude, and he was exonerated, and I didn't even realize it. Cheers to Birdman.
Do your own research. See, that's why you can't believe anything Pete says.
I'm having a bad day. Earlier today, we were talking on the Swolecast about Judge Ito for like an Ito Smith nickname, and I made something that like Lance Ito was on the Supreme Court, and he was the OJ judge on the Los Angeles Superior Court, but I accidentally said Supreme Court. I got roasted for that one, so I'm having a rough day here. A lot of lies.
That's the OJ judge, right?
Yeah.
With Birdman, it's too obvious for him to be like a freak like that. You know what I mean? Like he'd probably cover it up.
I do think he did get in trouble with drugs at one point, but
he had a drug problem, which he kept out of the league for a while. That's entirely different than child porn and trafficking.
No, it definitely is incredibly different. Denver. I mean, he was Denver Nuggets fan favorites. Him and Earl Boykin. Do you remember Earl Boykin?
Sure. Like 5'5" or
yep.
whatever.
5'5" exactly.
Yeah, Earl Boykin. He was good though. He was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love those little guys. Spud Webb, Earl Boykin,
Muggsy Bogues.
Oh yeah.
It is
a while.
Yeah. I mean, even Allen Iverson they would list him at like 6'1", and you knew he was like a glorified 5'10".
Yeah, 5'10", 5'11". How about Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, Chris Jackson?
Dude, he was one of my heroes growing up.
Yeah.
Those Denver teams, like back when they were the 8th seed and they knocked off the Supersonics, and it was the Mutombo, LaFonso Ellis, like those were fun teams.
Yeah. I remember playing them. In like NBA Live or whatever.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say NBA DFS. I was like, you're full of shit. Back in '93.
Yep, in the early 90s.
Yeah. Clay says, did you have Melo sneakers? No, I didn't. I was never, even as a Nuggets fan, I didn't ever love Carmelo. I fell in that camp of like, I didn't like his style of play. I felt he was a ball stopper. I feel like he had kind of an attitude. Like he just never was someone I got super excited about. I was more of a Chauncey Billups guy. He was a hometown Colorado dude. My cousin played against him in the state championship when they were both high school. Chauncey Billups dunked on my cousin.
What do you think when AI was traded there?
AI was more like fun for me. Like all the kids on my basketball league, everyone started wearing compression sleeves. We would always try to like perfect what I called like the taco jumper, where like his legs went up and how like when he shot, like it was like his legs went forward and his hands. We always called it the taco jumper. Allen Iverson kids loved Allen Iverson, man.
Me and my buddy used to just make fun of that trade so bad because we're like, they're never gonna win. They're never gonna win.
It was
And
the
everyone thinks
purgatory
they're the
trade.
shit. Like, there's something about, like, you could just tell. And Iverson could have won maybe one of those years with Phillies, with the 76ers, or
When he dragged them to the finals.
yeah, like at some point. But once he got traded to Denver, I'm like, yeah, these two, it's not gonna work.
It was a bad
Right when
combo.
the game was changing too, and it's like those two do not fit in this new NBA.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about D'Angelo Russell missed his COVID test, and so we were scrambling here right before we started whether he was going to play or not. And then he didn't get started, so he's coming off the bench, and I'm like, should I only have a few lineups, so I'll just leave him. But like, he's like not like exactly like those guys, not nearly as good, obviously, but like he's on Minnesota now, and I'm like, this is perfect team for him. Like he can go there, put up big numbers, and not win shit.
And that is the thing. I don't know. Maybe this is naive, but I feel like in basketball, like, do you think this is a bad take that in basketball players are more likely to be content on bad teams if they're getting like big usage themselves more so than other sports?
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, it feels like NFL wide receivers are kind of the same way. Like if they're not getting catches, they could cause some Des Bryant type problems.
Yeah. David says, rest in peace, my liver. So many days off, so many slates. Just got here. What are we talking and drinking, fellas? Brian's got Claws. I'm drinking a Maine Beer Company Pale Ale, and we're reminiscing about mid and late 90s NBA action. Were you a Chicago Bulls guy?
Not really. I mean, I did go to some of the Jordan games and stuff, but like, I wasn't really a huge NBA fan, honestly. I liked like the Golden State Warriors and the Bulls. But
like Chris Mullins, like
yeah,
Golden
like
State Warriors,
Mullen, Run TMC, Mitch Richmond, a little bit.
And I've like flipped. Like I was hardcore NBA, like as a kid growing up was my favorite thing. And then I had like a stretch for a while when I found out about girls where I didn't care about any sports. And then I became really into football. And now I'm not as much into basketball.
It's funny. I don't know how it is now, obviously, but like knowing fantasy sports and stuff in high school and knowing about sports was not cool.
Dude, me and my buddy would go, because this was in high school, we would go and Yahoo would have their season-long drafts, and they had two kind of drafts. You'd have the live drafts you do, but you had to like schedule them. You had to know ahead of time, like you're going to do one. But they also had these automated drafts where it would just randomize it and just give you the team. You didn't even get to do the draft, but I would go in and it's just like, you're killing time at lunch or during a free period, and you just do one of these automated drafts. And it was so bad because we would just do them until you get a team that you liked. So I probably had like 50 of these random Yahoo teams, and I just kept letting them do the automated drafts until I was like, oh yeah, this one has Paul Pierce. Yeah, let's keep this one. It was so stupid, but like that high of doing fantasy basketball, man, it's fantasy sports. I think it's always been wired within us at some point.
Yeah. I mean, I first played fantasy baseball in my dad's league. I was probably like 12. He's not a huge sports fan, so I knew more about the team than he did. But like no one, there's like only a couple guys in high school who were like knee deep into sports. Well, I feel like it's more accepted or popular now. Like fantasy sports for sure. Like everyone and their mother plays now, like some form of like fantasy football or something. Gambling in general too, with just office pools and shit like that.
Yeah,
it's way more prevalent.
My wife and I have just like for random shit to throw on when we're like going to bed or whatever, we've been watching Survivor, and my introduction to Survivor was with my buddies in high school. And this was like one of my first gambling experiences where we would put all the names of the contestants in a hat and all put in like $20 and draw out 2 names or 3 names. And then if your name that you drew out won Survivor that season, you would get the pool. And it was just like watching Survivor reality TV with a sweat like a gambling spot was like the most revelatory thing in the world. I was grinding spoilers, trying to figure out who won, and then trying to broker trades like with my buddies. It was so bad. But that, I mean, I think maybe what I'm trying to say is I've always had a degen bug in me from the beginning.
How much are you guys gambling?
No, it was like $20 in the pot. But for like a sophomore in high school, that was to have a pot with $200 was like,
I thought this was like last year.
No. We're talking 2002.
Okay. That's fine. That's fine. It does make everything more interesting. New York sounds like they're going to get legalized.
How close?
It sounds like Cuomo's on board. So hopefully he can do that before he gets the attorney general gig.
I love, what was it, like 6 or 7 years ago that there was the DFS protests in New York?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the DraftKings one. Oh, not Draft. I'm sorry, FanDuel. Was it FanDuel or DraftKings? I can't remember, but the RG guys all went there, right?
Yeah, no, I remember because people were posting those clips, I think, of Cal and those guys there.
Man, democracy in action. And who knew a mere 7 years later that it didn't do anything? Still illegal.
It's wild. Absolutely wild. Brian, we should tell the people, you and me, I don't think we had ever collaborated on a lineup. We played a Yahoo 10-man this week.
Yeah, we did. We had a whole strategy, and we were going to do a little like content show on it and everything. And then the slate got flipped on its head, and there was not as much point to doing anything with it. Yeah,
we registered. It was a 10-man, $1,000 buy-in?
Yeah, 1,050, 10-man on Yahoo. 5 to first, 3 to second, 2 to third.
Yeah. And some recognizable names in there. We had Mock Lovin, Kirk Deese over at Roto Grinders. Who else was in there that we recognized? Papa Gates. That was actually a really good sweat. A really good sweat.
Yeah. Without Fournette, or one last touchdown for Fournette, would we take him first?
I think so. So like what Brian and I, we had a lineup that we liked. And then when Pollard and Lynn Bowden opened up, we got both of them in the lineup, but multiple teams kept Leonard Fournette. And so then Leonard Fournette getting those suck out TDs really hurt. And then Brian and I were in second heading into Sunday night, and a couple teams had Jarvis Landry. And we needed to fade a Jarvis Landry touchdown to hold on for second. Of course, he gets the TD, and then we were up by like less than a point for third. And so all it was like one Jarvis Landry play for more than 5 yards, and we're toast. And luckily, he blanked out the rest of the fourth quarter.
Yeah. So ended up getting lucky, I guess. We did. The idea was
you say the thesis.
The thesis of the turn of our strategy was you make 5 lineups, I make 5 lineups, and then we sim it out and pick the best lineup. Which is funny because we didn't do that. We
started to do that.
Well, no, not even. So because you did 5, I did 5, we simmed it out, and then we picked the 4th best lineup. Remember? Because the top 4 all had Fournette.
Right. But that, I think the thesis was we were trying to do that before all the news changed.
It was the best non-Fournette, the 4th lineup. So we rolled with that. That lineup was awesome too, by the way. It had Watson and Montgomery in it.
Do you think those guys that had like Chipotle and those guys that kept Fournette, do you think that was out of laziness, or do you think that was purposeful?
I'm not positive, but I think it was purposeful. At first, I thought it was laziness, but then what we ended up deciding on for our lineup was I just had like my top 2 optimals there, and we picked the non-Fournette one. But the Fournette one was my optimal right up until lock. It wasn't identical to their lineups, but it was damn close.
And I guess the thing that I'm having to wrestle with is like in my head, like the play on Fournette didn't change in a vacuum because of the Pollard news. It just made Pollard the better like pump play, but that doesn't mean you still couldn't have played both of them. I just didn't want to have to play Fournette, but Fournette helped you get up to studs in other spots. So then when Pollard opened up, it was like, oh, just swap those guys out. But I guess you still could have let him ride.
Well, who were the three running backs? We had Kamara, Pollard, and
Henry.
So yeah, if you take Fournette, then you gotta get rid of Henry or Kamara.
Yeah.
So I was fine playing Fournette. Honestly, I wasn't as against them as everyone else was, but it's like I'm fine getting rid of Fournette. Obviously, like who knows, right? He could get pulled after 5 bad carries or something. So like, but the thing I liked was you got to keep Henry and Kamara.
Yeah.
In a 10-man.
And then I guess the one maybe thing that would be interesting for other people on this was this idea. I think the lineups I sent over, because it was a 10-man, were definitely like more cash type with like a pivot or two of like a low-owned wide receiver I didn't think would be duped. And then the Sims, though, seemed to like more of the game stack. But we didn't end up really on the game stack. Everyone had Lamar, and a lot of teams had Lamar to Andrew, so I wouldn't even really count that. But before that news, we were going to maybe go with kind of like a Mahomes game stack.
That's him, not the best one, was the Mahomes game stack. So I made 2 cashy lineups and 3 stacks for my 5, but 4 of them had Fournette in it.
Yeah.
So like he really drove the projections, but yeah, it liked the Mahomes one. And the second one, it was a golf one too. Good thing we didn't take that. And that seems a little risky for my blood. And who knows now in hindsight what I would think now, but like in a 10-man, but it's interesting to note though, that even in a 10-man, it still likes being off the chalk a little bit, and stat and correlation helps.
And one of our plays that we both liked that ended up helping us was, I believe we were the only person in the field with Robert Woods. Maybe there was one more team. Maybe it was 20% owned, I want to say.
Yeah, I can't remember.
I think it was 20%. So there was one other team, but that was a nice one for us to get in there to be differentiated.
Yeah, you called that too. You said it's perfect, so we'll have all studs and Woods. Woods will be the one-off, like kind of lower owned guy.
And then you were saying too that like you put that lineup that we ran in the 10-man in some other stuff, and that it was doing even better in other stuff just because that 10-man was more competitive.
I put it in everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had the entire Yahoo slate, like everything. I'm not kidding. Like every single tournament I was in first, and every cash game.
With that lineup?
Well, that line was part of it.
Yeah.
So I didn't even look what the winning tournament one was, but I ended up doing well.
Nice.
So, but yeah, like you can only win so much because it's Yahoo, but also like you can't take it's tough to take first, second, third, and fourth and everything. So like, but yeah, it's certain going into Sunday night, I must have had like, I don't know, a quarter of the money or a third of all the money. Which is nice, and which is obviously nice. But yeah, so
well, are we gonna run it back this week?
So we'll run it back this week. You know what I was thinking too is like this is the worst part of the season to try this little.
Why?
Because it's the sit-em weeks, right? Next, not this one, but next one for sure.
Yeah. We don't have to run it back week 17. This week should be fairly normal.
Yeah, okay. But you never know, though. You never know. Once it gets getting the last few weeks, things can get a little. Is there any? I don't even know what the standings are.
Well, the Chiefs, I have heard some rumblings. Now that the Steelers have started to implode, like, and I'm not in the weeds on it, but I don't think the Chiefs have a lot to play for right now, except the thing of like, if you sit, like your players are almost sitting an entire month, right? If you sit them 16, 17, and the bye.
Yeah.
Like you don't want your players to be sitting a month.
That's true. It is football though. You get them nice and healthy.
Tyreek is a little banged up right now. He didn't practice today, so that could be interesting.
And it could go, they say we're not going to play him on Friday and we're fine too. So like it could work itself out. But and it's it's COVID season, so who the hell knows, anyways. But yeah, generally for this strategy, because you have a ton of shows you got to do, get in your own lineups, and then I'm AFK or what? Anyways, not AFK. I'm on my keyboard so much that
you're at the factory.
I'm on the factory after 10:30. I can't do shit really. Besides, here's the optimal, here's the second optimal. Which one do you want?
Well, we were both swamped, and I remember checking in after the Zeke. I was like, we probably need to change this, right? You're like, yeah.
I'm like doing it right now. There's no way we could have went in there without Pollard.
No. He was a lock.
If we were playing a $20,
we would have just said, fuck it.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. And for $1,000, you can't
no.
You gotta do something.
You gotta get off your ass. Yeah, Sunday, that was a stressful one for me. We had, because like Leone was in the Fantasy Football World Championship, so then we did our call a little later because he was getting his stuff all sorted out, and then we built 3 lineups for the $1,500 millie. And then I had to like hop over to FanDuel. I wanted to check in with you about our Yahoo. I was trying to the reason I didn't end up with more Pollard was partly out of just like laziness and time crunch of like, I really liked my 2 main teams. And I'm just like, I don't even have time to fiddle with this, even though in a perfect world, I would just start from scratch and get Pollard because I loved Pollard. I thought he was a smash. And I didn't make it happen because I was just like, I don't have the time to rethink this.
That's one of the reasons I don't want to hand build at all, because I don't want to get you've probably never heard this term, anchored. I don't want to get anchored to any of my lineups. And if I just make them and then cut and paste, I don't even know who I have in there.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, Pollard's in, cut and paste. I don't care. Like, I don't even know, but I can tell like if I'm doing like just a few lineups and actually paying attention a little bit, and then I'm like, oh God, do I want to switch out? Today was Tristan Thompson starting, D'Angelo Russell not starting. Then I go and look. I'm like, ooh, I like the way that lineup looks. Do I want to fuck with it? I'd much rather have no biases whatsoever and just go cut, paste, cut, paste, cut, paste. But which can be a detriment, after this year and doing this show with you, we've talked about like micro macro strategy. You want to have some of that, like it definitely is an advantage to know who all the players are and stuff like that to some extent.
And I would say it was interesting on that idea too, where like earlier in the week, and I'm not dunking on anyone, but like I brought up like Tony Pollard because Zeke was like really questionable. And I thought it was like a possibility. And I kept saying, like if we get Tony Pollard somehow, like just total smash. And part of that is just from playing Dynasty, knowing what a great college prospect was, knowing that he catches passes and that would be used in a bell cow role, like knowing he tested well, athletic. Like I had this like baseline knowledge. Like I knew he wasn't just a guy. Like I knew he was a talented dude to where like when Benny Snell opens up, I'm like, all right, he's going to be a 2-down plotter. He's not going to be catching passes. He doesn't really have breakaway speed. Like having some of that context. And again, I'm not super in the weeds, but I know just enough to feel like I have a grasp on what kind of like upside ceiling I'm getting with a guy to where I can just be like, oh man, Tony Pollard's a smash if he's getting 20 touches. And I wouldn't know that otherwise. Like I wouldn't know how to differentiate Tony Pollard from Benny Snell if I didn't play Dynasty.
Yeah, no. And it can help with making projections or like even going through others' projections and be like, oh man, this seems too high for Benny Snell. Like this guy's a piece of garbage. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And it can backfire on you too, right? Like your takes aren't always wrong, but I do think it can point you in the right direction or give you more confidence on, like you said, all my lineups are showing Tony Pollard. Maybe if he was a Jag, you'd be like, this doesn't make, but if you're like, oh, this guy's good. All right, let's just push the EV here.
And egregious ones, like maybe you're aggregating something and then one of the sites didn't update and you're like, oh, Snell's still getting carries even though he's not playing or something like that. Like, that he's not playing. And so like that knowledge of the game matters. Like it can definitely help in tons of different ways. I'd much rather have them just be numbers. And I don't have to worry about it and just cut and paste.
Yeah.
And let the math handle it. Like I should have done with this John Kuncher asshole.
So what is he just not getting any playing?
And it's in one of my best lineups.
So how do you, I mean, we don't really have time to get into how the projection sausage gets made, but like, how do you even do projections for these randos when you don't have any like usage data on them for a new season?
You can, it depends on who it is, but like for some players, and I do this in hockey too, not that I'm probably not going to play hockey anymore, but I figure out comparables and just copy and paste the guy. Like, so, name a comparable for Tony Pollard. Like this is in NBA terms, but we were just talking about him. So like, I don't know who's like an obvious two players who are very similar in a sport. Just think of that. And so like, if all the draft comparisons are for this guy, I'll just take like the middling comparison, go to his last season's usage, cut and paste, and then take a look and then adjust it just a little bit, and then just use that for the first few games.
And then are you using stuff that is shown to be predictive, or like what inputs about similar prospect profiles would point you in the same direction?
It's just a base floor, and the easiest way to adjust for it is like, okay, so let's say I make James Weissman, I compare him to Patrick Ewing, right? Or something stupid, like some legend. And then I'll go into my projections and a sim, and it'll be like, oh, the Warriors are projected 8 points more now than their Vegas line. It's like, oh, that's because Weissman's not as good as Patrick Ewing yet. Down. You know what I mean? And then because there's only so many points to go around. We know Curry's going to get a bunch. We know, Draymond Green, he was hurt first game, but you know what I'm saying? Klay Thompson's out too, but you would think Andrew Wiggins would get some points, although he never does. So like, there's only so many points left. So like, you don't even need to do what I'm doing. So if you have info on all the other guys, you just subtract it from the total, and there's about how many points they think he's going to get.
Yeah. No, it does.
NBA.
Yeah, I mean, like you gotta anchor yourself to something, right? Like, I mean, you need some type of informed guess to make. That seems like a good way to do it.
This is our biggest advantage for DFS players compared to sports bettors, is we don't have to originate the lines, and they're right, especially in the NBA and NFL. So like, same thing with football. If you got Benny Snell, like let's say he has no stats, and then they're going to be like, he's our bell cow this week. Well, if you got him rushing for 2.5 touchdowns, and the over under on touchdowns for that game is 2, it's like you got to go back to the tool shed, because Roethlisberger is going to be projected for 1.8 at least. Oh, bad examples because they played so horrible.
No, I have a good example, because you and me talked about this privately, and I'm curious, did you end up discovering why you had so much Denzel Mims this last week? And I
need to figure that out. I didn't see any errors. So I mean, I have no idea what we're talking about.
Me either, but I think people enjoy this. And we're going to wrap up in a sec, but it just felt like a very good example to what we were talking about.
Yeah, we were DMing, and I can't remember who we were talking. Oh, I don't know. Maybe Crowder was in or something. And I'm like, I just noticed I had 76% Denzel Mims in my house.
Let's go. Woo, woo.
And I'm like, yeah, I got to redo all my lineups for the late slate. And I briefly looked at my model and stuff, and I didn't see anything wrong with it. The only thing I could think of is let's say I'm factoring in ceiling, for example, of my lineup, like for some reason that he just popped to like hit the minimum amount I'm looking for. But I don't know. I'm gonna have to go back in and look. That hasn't happened to me all season.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I always run the Cardi's ceiling projections on the Blitz, and Mims was popping everywhere in the ceiling projections. So I don't think it was that absurd. Marcos in the chat, 76% Mims. I get roasted on so many shows, Brian, because I love playing Denzel Mims. He's another guy who I'm anchored a little bit to his prospect profile. I think he's really good. And, the Jets have just been not throwing enough, not trying to win games, give Frank Gore 30 carries a game until he dies. So, it happens.
I let Peter do my projections just for Mims.
Just for Mims.
So I bumped it down to like 28, which is still probably too high. But at that point, I had so many lineups locked that I didn't want to like force anything even worse than Mims in there. And it was fine. I took sixth in the slant and 2 top 100 in the millie.
Wait, was Mims in the 6th?
I can't remember. Okay. But if I would have arranged my lineups right, I would have won the other millie, the 1500 one.
Really?
I had at least one lineup better than Papa Gates. And the 3 lineups I entered my top lineup and then 2 random ones. So I had what is that? 2 in 148 chance, so 1 in 70 chance of winning $1 million.
That's I'll put a plug in. I did today. I made a compilation video of some of the best nuggets of DFS advice from people that I've had on my shows on the Friday strategy shows. And one of the nugget I put in from Brian was that idea of not worrying about which lineup you're putting into a contest if the EV is the same, as far as projected points. And Brian's point was like, if they're different, but the projected points are the same, might as well just go with the different ones because it doesn't matter. So yeah, definitely check that out. That point has stuck with me. And I know I always give my buddy Joe Holk a hard time because he gets FOMO about what lineup he's putting in what contest. And it's just like, I get it, but it's also like, it's so random and it just doesn't matter. You just got to make good lineups.
Right. And I completely, understand where he's coming from, where you get like, if you're hand building, you put in all this time and effort into learning the players and like, okay, what am I doing here if I'm not putting in the best plays that I think that I'm an expert and why am I doing this at all? It makes total sense to me. But like you have to think you're better than the projections, which maybe you are. So if you think you are better than projections, then that's completely different. But if like the projections show, whether you make your own or aggregate them, you don't think you're better than the aggregate, if they both show 140, it doesn't fucking matter, even though it feels like it matters a lot. It's a coin flip.
Yep.
And honestly, you could put the exact same lineup in with one player different. It doesn't matter either, because you're expected to win the same thing. If you get super lucky, then you take first and second. But like either way, your expected value is exactly the same.
Yep.
And point projection is a little, rule of thumb. Like there's more to it than that, obviously. And so like if you can hand build and you can do all of it in your head and be like, I know this lineup is better, even though their ownership's the same and the point projection's the same and their ceiling feels like it's the same.
Well, but the truth is you sent over the lineups, like some of them that the sim had spit out for Yahoo. And a lot of my gut reaction is just like, both of us were like, we just don't like Fournette. So we're just like manually discounting any Fournette lineups. Like manually in our heads, we're probably like, take 5 points off of this lineup, take 5 points off of this lineup. Even though it's not based in reality, we're just like, we don't like this guy.
I think for me, it was also like, I don't want to be like shamed by you or whatever. Like there was part of it. There's part of it where I'm like, I recognize that people hate Fournette. So I'm saying that is the top one, but also the fourth one too. So whatever you think.
It's funny you say that now, because that actually sounds way more realistic but when you were chatting with me, it sounded like you had similar distaste, but it sounds like you were maybe worried about me just like hating a Fournette lineup.
It was probably like 75-25. Because I know Fournette sucks and he can bomb, but I'm almost every time in my DFS career, I just copy paste and I look at it and I go, man, I hate Fournette. Well, what are you going to do? Enter.
I love it. We're discovering things about ourselves. I just figured out the true intent of what was going on. Because in my head, I'm like, wow, Brian's really turned into, a film grinder here. He's really out on Fournette.
Well, and we're collaborating too. So I don't want to be like, no, the sim says it, dude.
Release the Sims. All right, guys. This has been fun. We hope you guys have an excellent holidays, an excellent Christmas. Brian, any final words for the people here?
Nope. Happy holidays. May all your stockings be full of DraftKings tickets.
There you go. I do believe I have some Merry Millionaire tickets in my account, so maybe I will have to become an NBA thought leader on Christmas Day we will see. If you guys want to listen to this in audio form, we have the link down below to subscribe. You also have probably realized we have gone YouTube exclusive. Twitter's killing off Periscope. We are killing off Periscope. So subscribe to Brian's channel, like it. If Brian, wants to take a page off of my playbook, maybe he'll start, bribing people to subscribe to the channel. Brian, you think you would stoop to those lulls?
I might. I like it. I like your strategy. I know I think you have a prop bet that I don't know if that's publicly available info.
No, I actually don't have a prop bet. It's just
Blender had a prop bet.
No. It's just a public, little competition there, but nothing official. Oh,
you guys should have put a little bread down.
Yeah. Well, I blew my load on that before I got any money down on it. But yes, we need to get Brian over 2K subs. So if for some reason you're watching this and not subscribed to the channel, please do so, or hold out and wait till Brian bribes you with lots of money to subscribe. All right, guys, we appreciate you. We'll see you next week on Lolz.